United States mission in Nigeria on Tuesday highlighted Nigeria's plummeting economy. In a startling post on X, the post referenced various media outlets, including a publication by the Africa Report titled "Nigeria's Ruling Class Splashes Billions on Government Houses." The report highlighted how governors lavished billions on building or renovating government houses despite the prevailing economic hardship in the country. It also noted that while President Bola Tinubu asked Nigerians to endure the economic hardship resulting from his policies, the governors do not share in the sacrifice. The U.S. mission also shared quotes from transparency and accountability advocacy groups on its official handle, eliciting a flurry of reactions. Let me take the tweet from the U.S. mission. They wrote, "While Nigerians are urged to endure economic hardship like labor pains, some governors are splurging billions on new government houses." They posted a link from the Africa Report. They also posted a quote from Budget Nigeria saying, Budget warns that instead of funding schools, clinics, or agriculture, leaders prioritize buildings they barely used. And then there's another from CISLAC Nigeria saying that there is more money, little accountability, and no priority. Such alleged lack of fiscal responsibility fuels inequality and erodes public trust. With the hashtag Transparency Tuesday. Have you been following U.S. mission? I mean, is this about the first time I'm seeing this hashtag Transparency Tuesday. They are not holding back. And I didn't understand why that tweet came out yesterday with the, that hashtag Transparency Tuesday, but I'll come to you. Let me take a tweet about a reaction. Some people might agree or disagree with Onyali Kalu, who wrote, "It's deeply concerning that the official social media handle of the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria appears to be amplifying narratives aligned with opposition parties, particularly through the promotion of content that consistently undermines the APC-led federal government and President Tinubu's administration. While we respect the sovereignty of nations and the principles of free speech, it is expected that foreign diplomatic missions operate with neutrality, especially in a sensitive and highly polarized political climate. Any perception of bias, intentional or otherwise, risks compromising the spirit of mutual respect and non-interference that guides international diplomacy. Nigeria's democracy must be left to Nigerians. We welcome constructive engagement from our international partners, but not in a way that could embolden domestic actors bent on destabilization under the guise of political opposition." I mean, that is a thought there. Do you like that?
Very beautifully expressed. Yeah. I think it encompasses it all. Yeah. There's several issues, but I think the main issue that the biggest takeaway from this is, are we comfortable with any country that is outside of our borders, being this vocal with regards to criticizing a sitting government? I think governance, accountability, and all things surrounding are important conversations to have, but they should always be done within the realm of diplomatic. There's a reason why we call it diplomacy, because there's a certain tone that it has to take. And this coming on Twitter, it felt a little bit like an attack. Now, we know that the current American administration, Donald Trump's administration, does do things in a very non-traditional way. However, it is also always important as a diplomat, as a representative of your president and your government, to ensure that you respect the sovereignty of the country where you operate. Because what this does is it amplifies other conversations that are taking place. What are these conversations? African governments are consistently, not just African, developing country governments are consistently accusing some of these global superpowers of interfering, of instigating regime change, of doing what we call color revolutions, which is when they get involved with various NGOs and sectors of opposition to destabilize the nation. So that is of huge concern. Yes. And it also follows, if you remember, around Democracy Day, there was also a communique that was issued around freedom of speech and so forth, which embodied the rest of the diplomatic core. At least the tone of that particular message had been more around the realms of the rule of law. But this one really felt extremely charged and opinionated. Is it true? Yes. The governors are enjoying a largesse as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. FAC allocations have gone sky high and they're enjoying that. Right. And we're not seeing a lot of developmental initiatives from it. It's correct. However, this is not how we would expect a diplomatic mission to comment on the politics of the day. Diplomatic missions are always supposed to remain non-partisan.
As regards the American thing, see, we open ourselves up to the Americans to do all of this. Yes, I get your point totally about sovereignty. I also get your point that what they are saying is right. But we open ourselves up. Are we not the same Nigerians that are so quick to go and say, give them visa ban, politicians that are doing wrong in this country? Are we not the same Nigerians that are so quick to go and open our ports down for them to be able to give us aid? Are we not the Nigerians that are so dependent on their aid? Is it today we know that America always interferes in global politics? Salvador Allende in Chile. Is it today that we know that America funded a national daily in Chile to be able to usurp Salvador Allende and supported the likes of Augusto Pinochet? Is it today we know? It's not today we know now. So let's stop deceiving ourselves. All the NGOs that you see that are cited, their budget and all of that, is it today we know that NGOs get funding from American governments? So let's stop deceiving ourselves. That's why we say for us to be a sovereign nation, we must start with credible, sensible leadership. A leadership that caters to his own people. A leadership that does not disgrace his own people. When they get a lot of money, they go and build government houses. Right. A leadership that invests in the welfare of his own people. So that's where we should start from. It's not today America has been poke-nosing into the affairs of every government, and they will constantly poke-nose. Well, you know, in this country, when we had to wait for John Kerry to come and broker peace deal between Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, are we not the ones constantly calling them for peace? Is it not the same political actors that are bringing them to meddle into our affairs if it favors them or it doesn't favor them? Right. So why are we surprised?
All right. Dr. Abati, your thoughts on
just
both?
To state a principle of international, customary international law. Article 41 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1969, states the principle of non-interference in domestic affairs. And the whole idea of it is to ensure cordial and stable relations between missions operating in host countries. So what the United States has done would seem very unusual, because if you look at Article 2, Sub 4 and Sub 7 of the UN Charter, it also includes this prohibition of interference in domestic affairs. Also, that was the decision of the International Court of Justice in DRC versus Uganda. So that's the position of the law. However, you find countries violating it, and they run the risk of being declared persona non grata, because when you get involved in domestic affairs, it could cause diplomatic friction. So it's not just about sovereignty, it's about the very principle of diplomacy itself. However, some countries consider themselves superior countries, and that's why they go beyond the boundaries. And America, under President Trump, has been behaving like the superpower controlling the entire world. However, one caveat is that in that post, you see that they try to play safe by quoting Nigerian bodies. 6 lakh budget Nigeria. So it's as if they are providing a summary of public perception in Nigeria since they write diplomatic notes. In other words, the intelligence that these missions, embassies, diplomatic missions that they rely on, is in fact provided by the local people themselves. And so you have a country where people are criticizing their government, they are demarketing their own country. If they want to write their diplomatic notes, their dispatches, they just summarize what Nigerians are saying. So if you take them to task, the other side of it is that, well, we're just reflecting public opinion. What they have said about transparency and accountability, I ask the question, is it true or false? Answer. It is true.
Very true. All right. Your thoughts on Ubasani, quickly.
The National Assembly is a den of corruption by a gang of unarmed robbers. The National Assembly cabal of today is worse than any cabal that anybody may find anywhere in our national governance system, ganging up to intimidate and threaten the life of whistleblower is deplorable and undemocratic. Once when I was president, I asked outside auditors, both normal and forensic, to audit the account of the National Assembly. They frustrated it on the basis of separation of power. They claimed they had oversight responsibility for their corruption and nothing can be done. It is like asking a thief to watch over himself. Members of the National Assembly pay themselves allowances for staff and offices they do not have or maintain. Once you are a member, you are co-opted and your mouth is stuffed with rottenness and corruption that you cannot opt out. What of the so-called constituency projects, which is a veritable source of corruption? These constituency projects are spread over the budget for members of the National Assembly, for which they are the initiator and the contractor directly or by proxy. And money will be fully drawn with the project only partially executed or not executed at all.
The clerk of the committee, Mrs. Edith Aja, she approached me. She said, yes, the trend or the norm is that every month, every committee in the National Assembly, we are supposed to share the money. I said, how do you mean? She said, the money is usually shared. I, as the chairperson, I will take a part of it. I'll give some to my deputy, and the rest of the money will be shared amongst the staff of the local content committee. And I was like, did you say that is what happens? She said, yes, that is what my predecessor did, and that is what happens in all the committees in the National Assembly. I said, well, you know what? That money, if it's meant to service the operations of the committee, it's not meant to enrich my pockets. It's not meant to enrich the pockets of the staff. I would not want to collect this so-called impress. So I would advise that you keep that money in the account and we build the money, we use it for whatever it's needed. If we have to buy office equipment, print stationaries, then we use that money. And I promise this, and the bank statement is here. It's the Sterling, it's an account under the name Senate Committee on Local Content, and the account is with Sterling Bank, and the account number is 00662082009. And when I resumed as chair of the committee, the account balance was 0. And then gradually, at the time I handed over to the next chairman, the account had 13,649,335 naira and 4 kobo. Anyone who has access to it, I have called the account number. You can check. We have gradually built the account. Basically, the money, I never took a kobo out of that in the name of impress. I never gave my deputy then, who is Senator Ede Dafinone, any impress. He can verify and attest to that. Neither did I allow any of the staff to take any money because that is taxpayers' money and the money was meant to service the office. Oh, but by the way, it would impress you to know that ever since I left office, the money has been withdrawn by the clerk. About 5 million was withdrawn. And 2 days after my removal again, 4.9 million was withdrawn. So as at today, the bank, that account that had 13 million has only 123,000.
All the atrocities that have been committed in the National Assembly, who punished them? We don't follow the budget process the way it is. They will budget money for instance, staff budget, money for training, money for clinic, money for sports, money for books, money. They collapse it. It is in the National Assembly I say hearing about collapse. What is collapse? Sir, both of you know what collapse is. Collapse. The money, now, allowances that are budgeted for National Assembly staff is collapsed. So, we as citizens, because we are still citizens, first, before we became National Assembly staff, and then you have no power to even go and hold a press conference because we are sworn to oath of silence. So I can't even tell the world how I feel. Allowances that we are constitutionally, even, I put it in the Constitution this time, statutory allocation to the National Assembly staff, they collapsed it till now. Some people have retired. It takes over a year, 2 years for them to pay the National Assembly staff their retirement benefit before you start talking of pension. Go and see them. They look like scarecrows. Our former colleagues call us, direct us to beg for money for fuel. They are coming to the National Assembly. You see them standing at the junction into the National Assembly. They can't afford to fuel their cars. So apart from what the Constitution says, themselves, who is looking at the one they are collapsing and chopping? They chop their own, they chop our own. We are talking about oversight. How do you account for the fact that the flight ticket to go and oversight somebody was paid for that person by the agency? What are you coming to write? You go there, they tell you what to write, they give you money, they quarter you, they give you flight, and the members will come and fight over the money that they gave to them. They will not give the clerk. They will not give the committee assistance that they take with. But it's not even the fact that they didn't give the clerk. Now you are compelled to write a report of what you did not see, what did not happen, and you lie. Me as a Catholic, I will just go for confession first. We did a public hearing last year, and then the committee called me to tell me that a consultant was employed to write a report. And then I asked the consultant, were you at the public hearing? He said, no. So what do you want to write? Ifoma, we give you material to write the report. I said, no, it's not going to happen. I will not work with you. I put my feet down and I told him I'm not going to work with you. And I sat down because they are looking at us as if we do not have capacity. Me, I'm just 2 steps out of National Assembly for retirement. So right now, my mother says she's not dancing so that people will give her money. It's so that they will see me. So I will say what I want to say. I sat down and I did a proper report of that public hearing. And I took it to the chairman. I said, this is the report. And they were looking at me like, you mean it? I said, yes. Oh, no, you have to change. I said, no, this is what happened. If you want to change it, you now go ahead and change it. But the original report is in my system. I don't use secretaries. I type my report myself. So if they want to change it, they should go ahead and change it. I am waiting.
There are 5 options available to Peter Obi. 5 options that simply taking those 5 options and exploring them will serve as a deterrence to impunity and therefore weakening any rigging machinery for 2027. The 5 options. This is not the time to worry whether or not APC or Tinubu is in charge of the judiciary or the security agencies. This is not the time to worry about that. Well, Tinubu can be in charge of the judiciary. He can own it, like Wike used to brag about. Tinubu can own the security agencies. But you see, these 5 options, if Peter Obi engages in them, it won't matter that Tinubu is in charge of the judiciary or the security agencies. It won't matter. What are the 5 options? Let me maintain or reiterate so that it becomes crystal clear that the worry that people have about these 5 options, about engaging the judiciary, about engaging the security agencies, the worry that people have that nothing will come out of it, yeah, it may be genuine. But you see, in this instance of the impunity of the Edo governor, his commissioner, and his APC state chairman in Edo, the impunity, if Peter Obi simply just engages these 5 options, even if nothing comes out of it, it will serve as a deterrence. What are these 5 options? Number 1, Peter Obi must do a petition to the Inspector General of Police. He must do a petition. It is not enough that we come on social media to vent, to do a pushback. I appreciate it. It's a wonderful thing, but it is not sufficient to do the deterrence. Because if we understand the aim of the impunity, we will know and see that simply coming on social media to do a pushback is insufficient. What is the aim? Before we come back to the options, The aim is to strike fear. It is a psychological warfare that the APC, that the Tinubu rigging machine, quote and unquote, have set in motion. It's a psychological warfare to strike fear into the hearts of Nigerians, to make it appear as though the APC or Tinubu and his boys have a monopoly of violence. And why is this important?